before you make a permanent decision, do these things. Welcome in, fam. Much love. Trav here. Very important. Life is about assessing the situation and making a series of decisions, ideally correct decisions. You can't go back in time, and the more that you play it right, the better. The fewer mistakes you make, the better. The more momentum you have, the more your brain wires towards victory and more dopamine and more success and more confidence, and you get a feedback loop, as opposed to making the wrong permanent decision, send you down the wrong path, builds up the wrong brain and sets you up for disaster. So welcome in. Much love, Trav here. Obviously a very important topic that we're going to talk about. I wish I had told me sooner, because I fuck this up constantly. I still make this mistake. So, I don't claim to be perfect on this, but I do at least have a framework, and I've learned from pain, and you don't have to. So let's talk a little bit about what sort of decisions are more permanent. The good news is that, you can't go back in time. Many of the decisions, technically, you can go back on if you realize you fucked up, but it can cause a lot of damage. So examples of permanent decisions would be moving to a new city, signing a new contract, putting money down to go to and saying you're going to go to a college, choosing a college. It could be divorcing, breaking up, quitting your job, especially these sort of negative things like breaking, stepping away, breaking contract. These sort of things are pretty permanent. They're not totally permanent. We'll talk about that in a moment, but they're pretty permanent. You move to a new city, sell your things, move to a new job. That's huge investment. You sign a contract, you're locked in until that contract is gone. If you break the contract, you're burning your bridges. You quit your job, you're burning your bridges. You divorce, you break up, may get back together, but now you're apart, right? So when the good news though is that if you make the wrong decision, it's possible to correct it, right? Like if you move to the wrong city, it's possible to say, I fucked up, I moved back, I'm coming home. If you quit your job, it's possible to say, hey, I did a good job for you, and ideally you didn't burn the bridge. I want to come back and come back to this job. It was actually better than I realized. Or hey baby, I fucked up. Let's try it once more. Like, let's get back together, right? So, that's not ideal, but it's one way to think about things. Is it's possible. Like, most decisions aren't actually totally permanent. Like, you can't go back in time, but you will have possible opportunities to correct it. Is the good news. The bad news though is like what's done is done, and oftentimes it doesn't work out. It's like you missed your chance. Like, hey, you broke your contract, that's it. Or you spent your money, you're stuck here now, you're invested. Or like, let's not get back together because why open the door to more pain? That sort of a thing. So you gotta be very careful before making these decisions, and you can first identify them as permanent. So the first thing that I would recommend, I'm not even perfect about this, I fucked this up before, hopefully never again though, is you give it at least a day to think about. Like, come on. If, don't be too impulsive, hold it in for a bit. If you have to take time to yourself and be separate from whoever you would be delivering the decision to, do it. Like, avoid. Take a couple days. Ideally, these big decisions you should give them almost a week. Now, you have to make the decision at some point, either commit to it or commit not to it. Reason being, otherwise you're just going to keep thinking about it. There's something called the Zygarnik effect, where the brain tends to think about anything unresolved, basically anything undecided. So you're going to keep thinking about it until the decision is done. That doesn't mean that you should never make the decision, or it also doesn't mean you should make the decision immediately, because you could think, well, I'm going to be thinking about it, let's just get it done, so it's done. Well, don't be too hasty here. You have to make a commitment to or against, but give it a week. One thing I would suggest, sleeping on it and journaling on it, like writing down pros and cons of moving here and staying here or moving on, cons of moving on. Like, be analytic about this. You don't have to do this for every decision, but if it's a permanent or semi-permanent decision, it's worth doing. And then, so you're taking your time, you're analyzing it and writing it down. And then I would also recommend, if possible, you talk the decision through with a close friend or mentor, parent, or someone who has your interests at heart, and talk through the decision. And you'll get some, you'll get some good. Shout out to the wind. I'm out here grazing the sheep. This is generally when I'm doing the YouTube now. You'll get some good feedback, and you may have something suggested, see things you otherwise wouldn't see. Whereas if you just kept the issue entirely to yourself and made the decision yourself, you're going to miss out certain things. So here's what not to do, and I've made this mistake before on permanent decisions, is like, all right, had the idea, I'm just going to do it today. I'm not going to talk to anyone about it. And it's, later on, it's like, well, probably should have given that more time. I've made mistakes and commitments I shouldn't have made, broken commitments I shouldn't have broken, and gone to places I shouldn't have gone. The good news is that, and this is something to think about, some of those decisions I've been able to reverse, and I'm still here, and I'm in decent life position, and I have the knowledge at least to share with you. And unlike me, you don't have to learn, ideally, from the sort of pain that I had to learn from. Yeah, that's huge. You shouldn't have to learn the way that I had to learn. So I hope you find that useful, and let me know in the comments if there's any permanent decisions you made and how they went, and what your sort of process is, if you want to share. Or if you have any permanent decisions that you need to make, go ahead and share what those are, and we can help you talk through them. If you're on the fence to moving a new place, starting a new job, quitting a new job, starting or ending a relationship, signing a contract, breaking a contract, you're on the edge here of a big decision, why don't you go ahead and share it down below, and we will talk it through. So that'll help you, promise. Much love, fam, and look forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments down below. Peace out.